welcome to another Warcraft the audio commentary. Today we are going to be watching a series between two players who are pretty fantastic. It's going to be another undead versus night elf because we needed to see more night elf and this was what looked really cool, so we're watching it. That's how it goes. That's my whole decision process. It looked cool, we're watching it. Hopefully it will be cool. I believe it's a best of 3. I don't know how many games there are, but we're going to do as many as we can tonight. If there's more tomorrow, we'll finish it tomorrow. If not, that's fine. We'll finish it today. We'll see what happens. I don't know. But anyway, so let's go ahead and introduce our players. We have, in the 5 o'clock position on Twisted Meadows, it's Xixi, the teal Night Elf player, the premier Night Elf player. We've been watching him, so very good player. And he is just doing stuff down here. I'm not sure what he's doing. Well, I mean, I know what he's going to do, an AOW creep on this mercenary camp naturally, but is he going for the Warden or the Demon Hunter? 'Tis the Warden. And this is such an excellent Warden map. It truly is. It's going to give him a very easy route to picking up a fast level 3 on the Warden, potentially with double AOW creeping. That is what makes it super effective on this map. In our 11 or 10 o'clock position, depending on the size and rotation of your clock, we have HopeStar spawning in as the Purple Hope Undead. Just a wonderful guy. Always enjoy watching this guy. Very fantastic player. I'll warn you, my allergies are messing up like really bad today. I do have health insurance, so I'm actually gonna see if I can get some like proper allergy medicine, because all the over-the-counter stuff is just like completely quit working, like, especially since I moved out here, which is like another terrible allergen state. So there, that's my bit of too much information for the day. So the Warden is going to come over here. He is going to go ahead and Shadow Strike the Ghoul. It is a natural move. You get the Ghoul out of there if you can. Normally, I mean, this is a very, very ballsy Ghoul. He says, I'm going to try to come back in, go for the steal. What he's trying to do is delay the creep a little bit. Also do some damage if the elf allows it, which they normally don't. You know, he went for the Wisp a little bit, going for the Archer a little bit, bringing actually in a couple more Ghouls here. This is a little bit different. He is definitely trying to prevent the Warden from getting high level, because if the Warden does pick up a fast level 3, the Undead is severely behind. The Warden can just start hunting Acolytes, and there's not really a lot you can do at that point. Do note, this is not a Coil first Death Knight, this is an Aura first, so he's going to have to rely heavily on Micro here, and he really wants to keep that away from Shadow Strike range, because he will totally use a Shadow Strike on that if he has to. Yep, and see, there it is for level 2, because it's well worth the XP, and that's what the Undead's trying to prevent from happening. Obviously, he slowed the rest of this creep down, but since the Warden's level 2 anyway, it kind of doesn't matter. Picking up the Forestral Shadow Priest from the Mercenary Camp, you can do that. We kind of missed it. There's a cool little trick you can do with Archers and Wisps. Basically, you pull the creeps away, you buy the thing with a Wisp, and then you pull the creeps away with the Archer, and then you buy the units with the Wisp, and then everyone goes home pretty happy. Except for the Undead, who is generally not going to be happy about that. Just an idea. You can see that the wood that he had to spend early on, or rather lose early on, Xixi just wants to slow this Death Knight down. He wants to actually save this Wisp if he can, and he's going to try to do that by bringing in the Warden and the Archer and the little Forestral Shadow Priest right there. He knows that the Death Knight will absolutely chase that Wisp down. There's no doubt about it. It's got Aura, so it can run and chase him very quickly. So that's why he had to do something drastic like build an Ancient of War. He could have went for something that would have been cheaper, but the Ancient of War is actually a pretty tanky building. That's a kind of difficult thing for, it takes quite a few hits for the Death Knight to cancel it by itself. Death Knight not really having a lot of strong DPS. Gonna go for this creep, gonna get creep jacked. He does have double rod and necromancy, so if the fight goes into a long fight, he can make a lot of stuff, but it's really just gonna be a lot of stuff that Xixi can kill and get a ton of XP from. So he's got to be careful. He really should be going for the denies here. He went for the die, actually missed that deny, which is not great for him. Warden already has a wonderful item right here, a Beast of the Scroll, or a Scroll of the Beast if you aren't so dyslexic, and he will not probably end up ever using that. He'll probably going to sell it, but if he does sell it, it's a good 200 gold. If he does need it, it's a really nice item to have in the early game. If there's some kind of crazy push going on and you're in a bad spot, it's easy to go ahead and pop one of those, gain a whole lot of damage, and it can shut down pretty much any push. It's a pretty good item. The ghouls over here, oh, whoops, well, over here have crept a little bit. He needs to get level 2 on the Death Knight, really important, kind of a big deal. the Warden. It's kind of funny that we're seeing the Warden actually go for the harass, but he was doing that because he didn't go for the double AOW build. He just kind of moved this one Ancient of War over towards this stuff, I believe it looks like. Yes, he did. And now he's going to creep that without the Warden. So it's kind of an efficient way to creep and play the Warden while actually doing a really terrible thing to this undead, completely preventing him from getting XP, because it's really hard to creep when the Warden's here. It's because not because you have to worry about that. Look, he's having to already sacrifice those guys. He doesn't have Death Coil yet. No Death Coil means also he can't really finish this creep off. Well, he could now because that Warden's actually out of mana. So if he's paying attention, it looks like he is, because he's going to go straight for it. He's going to try to pull it out a little bit, maybe go for this round, or maybe just block enough so that the Warden can't run in and steal it. But the Warden was low on mana, so he didn't have a Shadow Strike available. So there you go, picking up that. I'm surprised he hasn't already killed that Skeleton Warrior. I would be doing anything in my power to deny giving this Warden level 3, and it's gonna happen. Level 3 now being picked up by a skeleton of all things. The Undead's HopeStar here is gonna have some serious trouble with this Warden. He does have a Naga out, so that's actually really helpful. It's kind of funny because for the longest time against Warden play, you had to go Lich second. You didn't really have a choice. The Lich second and a health potion for your Death Knight. That was how you had to play. Now we can see a Naga, which is a completely different style. Even though it does a similar function to the Lich, you can't keep it alive against Shadow Strike. You can't, and we're probably going to see that happen right here. There's no way that Naga's not going to just die. Maybe, I mean, I say that, maybe I'm wrong, but I think he's gonna just die. In which case, it becomes kind of questionable. What was the point of the Naga? I don't know. It was interesting to see him go for the harass, but I can't imagine a situation in which, given the state that the elf was in, which was a great early game for him, I can't imagine a state in which the Naga would have actually done damage there. If the Undead had managed to pick up level 2 really easily, and he did a lot of delaying, and the Warden wasn't level 3 yet, then I could see the Naga actually kind of being useful. But in that case, the Warden was already, it was just one of those situations where it was kind of crazy to actually go for the Naga. But he did go for the Naga. It's gonna make him go nicely in towards his tier 3 triple hero push, if that's what he's going for, which I don't think it is actually. Which is another good thing too, because if he went straight for tier 3, he wouldn't be able to get his statue out, and that would mean it would be even harder to keep his Naga alive. And there's a big issue. Going from tier 2 to tier 3 against Warden first is not at all like going from tier 2 to tier 3 against the Demon Hunter first, because now you have to worry about this constant threat of a Warden running in, shadow striking, and killing all your acolytes, and you can't reproduce. One of the things we saw a long time ago was Undead players versus the Warden first would get one of their Ziggurats. Instead of using it as a Ziggurat, they would get a Necropolis so that they could actually produce more acolytes during one of those big harasses. But I will say one thing to the credit of going Naga is that, and I think, is this going to be a tower push? This could be a tower push, looking at his items. He's got a Sacrificial Skull. No. Doesn't have any acolytes over here. Oh, he does have an acolyte. Okay, he does have an acolyte. I was actually just getting ready to say, one of the credit things you can do is you can do a lot of pushing if the Warden's not at the elf base. The tower push is incredibly ballsy. And obviously you can't tech to tier 3 if you're going for a tier 2 tower push. You need all of your resources on these towers and buildings right here. So here we go. We're going to see this interesting fight unfold right now. The Ancient of War is going to be used to tank. These archers are not going to be they're going to be very difficult to survive. He did go ahead and staff one, which is interesting because now he's not going to be able to staff that bear if it gets caught right here, which it looks like it might, and maybe has enough HP, and maybe it's positioned well enough that it won't matter. It looks like it's going to get out. The Warden now taking a bit of damage. He doesn't have Destroyers, so Rejuvenation is going to be incredibly strong here, so he can really pump out a handful of bears if he wants, and it's not going to be a problem at all. We're halfway through day 2, which means that if there's no mana juice, there's not going to be no mana juice. He could go for a Moonstone to get a bit of mana juice, which would be a cheap item, maybe worth grabbing at this point. He's got plenty of gold. He's definitely limited by wood, so I would say you should definitely grab one and just go ahead and pop it. You may as well do it at this point. You need the mana on those Moonwells to defend a tower push, but the Undead, he is very low on units. There's not really Fiends are very survivable in this situation, and the Naga definitely helps that. The Naga can definitely secure a defended position even against the Warden. So that's what we're gonna see. That's where these towers are coming in to play here. This ghoul still alive, just at 10 HP. He just doesn't care. These skeletons being massively useful, obviously. Master bears are out. We also have a glaive thrower out as well. So here comes the moonstone. I guess he was just waiting just a little bit. And now we're going to see him trying to go ahead and take down one of these ancient wars. There is a second one up as well for tanking. So even if the first one goes down, which it does, there's just another one right there that the elf can hide behind, which is kind of very nice for him. We're going to see that rejuvenation on the warden once again. That warden is going to be able to tank so much. And the bears here in the front line, they're okay, but I personally like them a little bit better in the back of the line against this type of a push until you're intending to push into the tower range, which it doesn't look like he really is wanting to do that just yet. Having Master Bears means that he can absolutely push down those towers, no problem, but it does mean that it's going to be a bit of a timing issue that he's going to have to hit. He needs to have more than just 2 bears. He's going to need 3 or 4 of them. Maybe probably leaning towards 4 would be ideally, but with the glaive thrower, he can actually do a lot of damage as well. So I guess that's a fair point. He doesn't really even need to push into the towers, perhaps. Although because of the way he's positioned his base here, this glaive thrower can't reach those towers. Maybe it could right there. I don't know. I would say it's unlikely. He would probably have to get a little more aggressive position there, which makes him much more vulnerable. But the Ziggurats are going to come towards that glaive thrower. We actually have a second glaive thrower out as well, it looks like. Maybe, is that the same one? It might have just moved up. Looks like it's the same one. Warden has been forced. No. Bear has been TP back. Also rejuvenated as well. And just really good micro coming out of the undead player here. He's going for those glaive throwers because he knows if the glaive throwers are up and they're being very aggressive, then it's going to make it very difficult for him to get more towers up. And more towers are definitely necessary in this sort of strategy. The statue is out of mana. He really needs a second one at this point because he's starting to. You can just start to see how much spread AoE damage is being put on him, which is going to make it really difficult to keep him alive or anything alive versus the threat of shadow strikes. Now, it is nice he's got the Tome of Relics here, so he can potentially buy a mana potion if he needs it on the Death Knight, which, for an emergency coil or something, would be really useful to see that right now just for a nuke. That would be really fantastic on the Warden. It would do a lot of damage to force him back. Because the rejuvenation is out, though, it's just going to be really difficult. You're not going to really be able to kill this thing down unless you can kill it with a nuke. So definitely going to have to see it like that. The statue finally falling down. Without the statue, it's even more dire situation for the undead in this position. He does have a meat wagon out. Meat wagon's going to be really useful if there's any dryads, I guess. But against these bears, it's not doing much. It's something that he could have used that as a statue. Would have been much better off because he could have kept fighting this much easier. We might even have to see him buy a health potion at this point. He's got the money for it. He's got 300 gold, 300 wood. But these bears, as you see, once there's 4 bears, they can push those towers down, no problem. He doesn't even need the glaive thrower. This many bears, it's just so difficult to actually DPS them down. They can get staffed out. And even when you're DPSing them down, they do so much damage to those buildings. It's almost pointless. It's almost not useful. And so this has been a great defense, great hold by Xixi to just basically shut this tower rush down. The Warden, however, very low, 16 HP, but he is not going to go down tonight. There is enough mana for another coil, but it's not going to cool down fast enough for that Warden to actually take any lethal damage, as he's going to make it right to those Moonwells. Turn around, Fan of Knives, and GG will be called by HopeStar, which was an interesting first game. A very ballsy strategy by HopeStar. I think he almost had to go with it at that point, because once he went for the Naga, I mean, I think he was planning for it once he went the Naga second, but by the time he was at tier 2, he was already behind. The Warden has already went for the higher level. It was already level 3. There wasn't really anything he could do to stop that. And on top of that, his leveling had been massively harassed, massively delayed. So that was kind of a last-ditch effort. So it was a good strategy. It was a good way to make use of that early game and not let it snowball against him. But unfortunately, it wasn't quite enough to finish it and seal the deal. It was very close, though. There were some very close points. If he was able to kill the Warden, he could have taken those bears down, could have killed some of the Moonwells. With that meat wagon being there, he could have easily wiped out a lot of the supply that the elf would have had. And when you kill Moonwells, not only are you limiting supply, you're really limiting defensibility, because without those guys sitting there to replenish the mana for the bears, the rejuvenation starts stopping. And really, in that sort of position, he wouldn't have had any bears, maybe 1 or 2, but that would have been it. So only a couple of rejuvenations. So that would have been that. But anyway, that was game number 1. So we're gonna go ahead and watch game number 2 now. I'm gonna go ahead and get right into it. So let me go ahead and switch up the screens. If you're watching on YouTube, these games are cast live at twitch.tv/PureB. Just letting you know, a reminder if anyone wants to watch them, and if not, they'll be on the game or on youtube.com/SirPureB the day after. That's how we do things. Getting into a groove. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next game. Goodbye.